Okay, so let's just get some brief um, history on, you know, what we're dealing with when we're talking about a nationality, so that it's clear when you're speaking in reference to a Hebrew Israelite what you're talking about. This is Genesis chapter 10. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah: Shem, Ham or Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. You can read Genesis chapter 10, and you can also read the lineage of peoples in Chronicles. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to go straight to Shem for the purposes of understanding what we're speaking of this nationality of people. Actually, I'll read at verse 6 to clarify some things as well when we're speaking of the sons of Ham. This is Genesis chapter 10 verse 6. Um and the sons of Ham: Cush and Mizraim, Egypt, and we'll get that as well. I'll prove that in scripture. And Put, Libyans as you will call them, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush: Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Raamah, and Sabteka. And the sons of Raamah: Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And I do want to go further into it, but I don't want to go too much into it. But this is where you get a lot of your a lot of these different worships that you do. Babylon. Yeah, let's get it. So let's go to 10. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. And out of that land went forth Ashur, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah. All right. And out of that land went forth Ashur, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah, and Resen, verse 12, between Nineveh and Calah, the same is a great city. 13. And Mizraim begat Ludim, and Anamim, and Lahabim, and Nathuim. Okay, so I will stop there, but I'm going to jump down to. It is pretty important to understand, though, that a lot of these African nations. It's very interesting that our people like to identify with Africa and they like to identify with Egypt, but they don't really understand a lot of the pagan practices that come with these people. Um, you know, so but I'm gonna just jump down to I'm gonna jump to 22, verse 22. The children of Shem: Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. And the children of Aram: Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. And Arphaxad begat Salah, and Salah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. And Joktan begat Alamodad, and Shaleth, and Hazar Maweth, and Yerah, and Hadaram, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and this is very important, verse 29, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan, and their dwelling was from Mesha, as thou goest unto Sephar, a mount of the east. So we can just actually jump to, let's see, we'll go to Genesis chapter 11, verse 11. And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 530 years, and begat Salah. And Arphaxad lived after he begat Salah 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years, and begat Eber. And Salah lived after he begat Eber 400 years, 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Eber lived 430 years, and begat Peleg. And Eber lived after he begat Peleg 430 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and begat Reu. And Peleg lived after he begat Reu 209 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Reu lived 230 years, and begat Saru. And Reu lived after he begat Saru 207 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years, and begat Nahor. And Serug lived after he begat Nahor 200 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 920 years, and begat Terah. And Nahor lived after he begat Terah 119 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. These are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot. So I just went there to show you that Abram, or Abraham, before he was named Abram, is from the lineage of Shem. And so then I want to go to Genesis 25 so that you see how this lines up with Africa. Okay, this is Genesis 25 and 1. And then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. And Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, and Letushim, and Lumim. And the sons of Midian, Ephah, and Epher, and Hanok, and Abida, and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah. And but you see, verse 5 says, and Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts, and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived, eastward unto the east country. And so when you go into the Josephus, and you go to the book of the Antiquity of the Jews, or Jewish Antiquities, depending on the version of the Josephus that you have, when you go to book 1 and chapter 15, it gives you the same lineage of the sons of Keturah. And you see here in the scripture in Genesis 25 how when they went their way, they went into the land of toward the east country. And when you'll read that history, once you go to the Josephus and see that it talks about how they conquered that land. And it lines up with this lineage here of the sons of Keturah, all right, from the lineage of Shem. But this Ephah is where you get, or Africa from. And it also, you can go to First Chronicles chapter 1 verse 33 and read that lineage of the sons of Keturah from Abraham. But this is a Shemitic lineage. So now we want to get the understanding of Abraham being a Hebrew and how that ties into this. Let's read this. And there came out, when you go through the rest of verse 13, and you read about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and then you go also Hamite nations, understand that were destroyed for their wickedness. We all know or have heard about where the term sodomy even comes from. These are what you would call African or Hamitic nations. All right, that the Most High destroyed these places because of their evil, because of their wickedness, because of their practices. So that's something else to consider when you want to be calling yourself an African, um, or what you think. Once again, that you're calling yourself as an African. All right, verse 14. But when you sorry, chapter 14. But when you go into, I want to jump to um, verse 13 and understand about this term of the Hebrew. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. So this is where Abram was dwelling. They were confederate with him, but they came and told him that when you read through chapter 14 about this is the well, actually, this is before. I'm sorry. So when you go into verse 13, let me correct that. When you go into verse 13, you'll read, I'm sorry, chapter 13, that this is before the Most High destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. But it's talking about basically a war that was going on there. And Lot was living there. When you read through Genesis, you read that Lot went his way and Abraham went another way because of the goods and the cattle that they had. It was so much for them to dwell together. So Lot went and dwelled in Sodom and Gomorrah. He went and dwelled in Sodom. And in Sodom, there was a war going on, and these kings of these different places came and they with during the war he was taken captive basically, and some men of the nations that were there were confederate with Abram, and they came and told him. But my point was that I wanted to get to, you see in verse 13, and told Abram the Hebrew. Okay, so this is, you got your start here of Hebrew. Now we're going to get to the Israelite, where that comes from. Understand that when you're talking about this, you are not talking about a religion. You're not talking about a doctrine of men. This is a nationality, and we're reading the origins of it. Let's go to chapter 15. This is Genesis chapter 15, verse 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. Something our people clearly do not understand. And goes into the very point of what we're talking about. This is so key to what we're talking about as far as our people and who they are and why we're in the conditions and why a lot of our people want to identify with this conscious community but don't understand that we do not have our shield and reward with us because we're not doing what he says to do. And by calling ourselves these things and not wanting to keep the commandments and not wanting to accept and understand who we are and continually, um, you know, try to condemn scripture, is further keeping us down. So this is 15 and 1, Genesis 15 and 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And I want to jump down to let's see. I want to jump to verse 18. In that same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river of Euphrates. The Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Kadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. So these are Hamitic nations that it's talking about. All right, but the Most High, the Lord said that He has given and made a covenant with Abram to for this land. Understand which land it's talking about? The land that you know now today, or that you think of now today as the Holy Land, or what you was called Jerusalem to at this day, or Israel. Okay, that was this land that he's speaking of then to Abram. Okay. Um, let's go to let's see, go to I don't want to go. I mean, it is a lot to go through, but it isn't a lot, but it's very important. If you read through verse 16, and you'll read again that Sarai, his wife, had no children. All right, and so she had a handmaid who was an Egyptian. Here we go again. Considering what we're reading, understand that Sarai also came from Shem. All right. Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, all right, a servant, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing, and I pray thee go unto my maid. So we'll go, to for the sake of time, we'll basically just go through a lot of our people. This is where Ishmael comes from. Ishmael is the son of Sarai's handmaid, Hagar, who was an Egyptian. Okay. But the Most High said that he would establish his covenant with a seed that Sarai would bear unto Abram, which will go on into what was Isaac. Okay. And that is who he established his covenant with. So when we get into the scriptures and we start talking about the covenant between Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, okay, this is where this is starting from, because he said that he would make his covenant with Isaac here from Abraham. And then we'll get into Jacob. But this is very important to understand. Once again, Hebrew Israelite is not a religion. It's not a doctrine of men. It is a race. And we're going to read scripturally where that nation comes from.